Welcome to another week to share some positive moments that you can have with your spouse to improve your relationship. So today's topic I want to talk about is tone of voice. In my company, Communicating Love, we talk about communication, and it seems probably 90% of all the couples that come into my office, they say one of the major things that they need help with is communication. So something I don't normally talk about, I feel is a very important part of that communication and communicating with love. And you need to watch a different episode that talks about the good wolf, bad wolf. If you don't know what that means, I encourage you to pause and go do that. That will make a lot more sense the rest of this few minutes with you talk about tone of voice, because I will be referring to that. In talking about improving our relationships, we talk often about where we're at in our own space when we're communicating. The bad wolf is our survival self side, and it's usually with a lot of fight or flight. And when we're in fight or flight, we are in danger mode, which often comes across to protect ourselves in anger. So the tone of voice will be coming across with anger or fear, anxiety. All of that often causes that fight or flight response, not just within ourselves, but when we speak to our partner with that fight or flight energy, that's going to trigger that other person's bad wolf as well, the survival part. And so that shuts down communication. And so it's important to pause and get into the good wolf. And the good wolf is the calm part of ourselves, where we are grounded and we feel safer. And as you can hear, the pace of my voice has slowed down. That's part of tone of voice, and that's included in that. So I remember in my undergraduate of communication, learning that the words we use in communication is only 7%. And so that's the classic and the most quoted research done looking that up. There's a professor, Mehrabian, Mehrabian. He combined two statistical results of two studies and came up with the now famous rule that communication is only 7%, or at least the words we use is 7%, and 93% nonverbal. Well, in that 93% of the nonverbal, 55% is our body language and 38% is the tone of voice. So that 38% of communication that we have using that statistic, which is, I guess, a good average in different studies, you think about the communication, 38% is a pretty high percentage. And the words we use certainly are important. The tone of voice becomes even more important, from 7 to 38%. And then I've talked in other times about nonverbal language, how that often can assist or cause a problem in miscommunication. So with tone of voice, just think about how you talk, how we all talk when we're tired, or when we're angry, when we're in a space of not feeling good, if we're in pain, that comes out in the tone of voice. And the tone has a lot to do with how we speak. It takes our whole body to create voice. And I've mentioned the Evox system that I use in my office, which analyzes the tone of voice. And when we are stressed, many of those tones, those relaxing tones, are missing in our voice. And so those are blocked because of the stress and anxiety that we hold in our body when we tense up. And so we can hear, even without seeing someone, by the tone of voice, even over the phone, we can hear if someone's relaxed or if they're really uptight and anxious. Sometimes we might say, we call someone and they answer and we go, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And it's because we hear in the tone of their voice that it's not relaxed and happy like we may be accustomed to. We can immediately determine something's going on for them. So tone of voice is very important. A couple examples like that is if I ask, how are you doing? The inflection of my voice adds a question. If I can say that same sentence in a different way, how are you doing? That's a little different emphasis. And if I say, how are you doing? That's a different emphasis. It's a common challenge in many couples where the wife asks, how do I look? Well, does that person want the truth or the lie? And that's the question. What is the relationship based upon? You say, oh, fine. Of course, that's not a good answer, I have learned. Fine is not a descriptive enough, helpful enough answer because it often means nothing, or it means I'm not afraid to tell you the truth, is how it may be interpreted. So, and that's part of tone of voice, is the experience of the couple from the past on what things can mean from tone of voice. You look nice, or you look nice, or you look nice. So the same words have different messages. So you can hear, you look nice. That's like from the bad wolf, don't bother me. Why are you even asking? But if it's, you look nice, that comes from the good, loving wolf. And again, based on past history, on what more meaning that may or may not have. And so the tone of voice, as you can hear, has different meanings, even with those very same words. I'm just fine. I'm just fine. I'm just fine. Those different tones of voices. So I just encourage and invite you to think about the tone of voice you use. Obviously, if you want a good relationship, use the good wolf voice, which is one of calm and confidence. With that calm and confidence, we speak kindly, often more slowly, and often even with a lower tone of voice. Those are the external indicators. Most important, though, in your ability to succeed is checking inside to see if inside that you are feeling calm. It's a common thing in an argument. One spouse asks the other, how are you doing? Or what's wrong? Oh, I'm just fine. That response, that tone of voice is saying one thing, but the tone is saying the other is, yeah, you're not just fine the way you're answering that. So it's important to pay attention to how we are feeling, knowing that's how we will be communicating. And as we communicate, whether from the bad wolf, which will push people away, because that's the purpose for self-protection and safety, we push people away. And in the good wolf, we invite others closer. So that tone of voice to invite someone closer comes from within, from being in the good wolf. So that's an important thing. So now just to add some more technical things about communicating with tone, we do express anxiety in our voice. And as we think about this at different times, then we may be more aware and be more successful when we do communicate. If you go to a voice coach, someone that teaches singing, there's different things. I got this from C Method Academy. They listed 11 things that make a difference on tone of voice. If you want to be working on that, again, with anything and everything, if you want to improve something, you need to practice that. And as you practice that, you can get better and better at that. So here's a real quick list of 11 things from a voice coach. So one is to breathe from your diaphragm. Take a deep breath into your belly. And then that's good voice control, to breathe in your belly, and then you have a full breath in, that fills up your diaphragm. If you're breathing and your chest is going up and down, then you're breathing too much in your chest. It's been said that dying people breathe from their chest. Living people, those who are full of life and grounded, breathe in their full diaphragm, which includes the belly and the diaphragm and the chest, but it starts in the belly. One way to practice that is to lay down on your back, and as you relax, it's more natural to breathe through your belly first when you're laying on your back. When we're all tense, anxiety, and full of panic, standing up, we get tense and we breathe through our chest, and that's the opposite. The other thing is to open your mouth more and to let the sound come out. We can breathe in through our nose and open our mouth fully and let the sound come out of our mouth. There's different exercises there. As I mentioned, one of those important is to ground yourself, and that's the internal thoughts, being calm, knowing that you are in your good wolf, but also things to help remind your body to be calm is to tighten them up and then release and relax. Tighten them up, relax and release. So that helps get grounded your body, and that helps your voice. Part of practicing could also include singing in the shower. Sometime, somewhere, whether that's in the shower or driving alone, or if others can put up with you, it's good to practice singing something every day to exercise your voice and to have variety. So as I speak variety, there's variety in the voice. As I do hypnosis, as many have experienced with hypnosis, the tone often gets monotone. And that's the purpose of the monotone voice doing hypnosis, is because when we have a monotone voice, it gets kind of boring. And so the conscious mind gets tired of listening to that, but the subconscious mind can continue to listen. And then with the monotone voice, that brings about a different effect to the brain. So it's not how I sound when I do hypnosis with people, but that monotone example, as you see, gets old very quickly and easily. Also, part of groundedness and having good tone is to have some good hugs. That's part of relationship, is getting hugs every day. The research studies show that a 20-second hug is what's needed when you have a good hug. It takes 20 seconds for the body to fully respond and to begin to dump that dopamine with a hug. And with a kiss, 7 seconds or more is what's needed for that. So enjoy good kisses. I mean, it's nice to say hello and goodbye with a quick peck, but as when you met your partner, you probably enjoyed a much longer kiss. So think about those good kisses and repeat those often. And that will help keep your relationship stronger as well. And with a better relationship, it's easier to have longer tones, or better tones in your heart and in your voice. Also, using your hands, that's part of the nonverbal communication. I shared the example before how it's difficult to talk with my wife when I'm driving because I like to use my hands. I'll steer with my knee and use my hands talking. That doesn't work so well for my wife. So when we need to have a good talk, she will be driving. Then I can use all my hands all I want, and she can kind of watch me while she's driving. Making it safe is an important part of having good tone in the environment. Just to be more aware of when we are in the bad wolf, when we're in fear and we have tension and stress, it comes across in voice, not just in the tone, but part of the tone would include the way we use our words. And sometimes in a sentence, we might change in the middle of a sentence, or we repeat ourselves. And often in the middle of a sentence, we will repeat words. And so part of tone is being relaxed. We are less likely to repeat ourselves, have a lower tone. When we get excited, as we've experienced, if we're in that, we might stutter or repeat ourselves. We might leave things out or not even complete the sentence. Some of the words we may use will be different. So here's a few examples of the different language slip-ups in our tones. So like a sentence change is like, I have a book, which the book I need for finals. So there's that pause in the middle of a sentence. So we change direction of that sentence. So an example of repetition, I get this from the Gottman workbook. Repetition, I often work at night. So that's a repeating of the word in the middle of a phrase. It leaves me. That's a stutter example. Omission, where we leave out a word or leave it unfinished. I went to the bod. So I went to the library. Sentence incompletion. That's a bad habit we can get into, thinking that our spouse may know what we're talking about without saying the whole sentence. Here's an example of that. He said the reason was, anyway, he couldn't go. It's like, what does that make sense? And it's easy to do. So tongue slip, I like to say my tongue got all tangled up. I even said that more correctly than normally when I mess it up on purpose. So my tongue got all tangled up. That's when we have tongue slips and we say words differently. I don't know really why I went. So those are different ways that we just become incoherent. There's an example of that. So when we find ourselves communicating poorly, when we're full of anxiety and stress, then that's the time to be aware that we need to slow down, get grounded, and check to see if we're in our good wolf. Then we will have better tone and our voice will be more inviting and enjoyable to listen to. So thank you. There's the marriage moment, and I hope this will help you be more aware of your communication, to know how much influence that you can have on improving your relationship in your marriage.